love the subtitle of this podcast. And I'm so glad that I'm not sure who it was that gave me the idea for it, that we named it the Personal Age Fitness Podcast and gave it the subtitle of Dispelling the Myths of Health, Fitness, and Wellness. Because I come across a lot of those. This is can be a very gimmicky business, both with different tools used in health, fitness, and wellness, and definitely different programs, diets, whatever. And today's podcast is a good example of that, of the need to dispel myths of health, fitness, and wellness. And as with many of our podcasts, this idea came from a longtime listener. So I thought we'd do a little investigating into something called earthing. I'm not sure if you've heard of that. We're going to dive headfirst into it, and we're going to look at weighing the scientific evidence and health implications of this new technique called earthing today on the Personal Age Fitness Podcast. Good day and welcome to the Personal Age Fitness Podcast. My name is Garrett Williamson. I'm president of Personal Age Fitness and your host today. Thank you so much for joining us and so much listening in. If you're interested in any questions about this podcast or any others, or like this podcast, if you have any questions or that you'd like answered about dispelling the myths of health, fitness, and wellness, please contact us, area code 251-278-3343. That's 251-278-EDGE. You can also reach me at my email address, which is Garrett, Garrett, at personalagefitness.com. Also, that's our website, personalagefitness.com, and our Facebook page, Personal Age Fitness. Hit me up on Twitter at TeamPE if you are so inclined. This question actually came from a listener, and they told me about it and thought, I'm not so sure if this is worthy of the Personal Age Fitness Podcast or fitting in the health fitness world, and but they showed me a quick little article they read about this practice known as earthing. And I thought, well, yeah, this is exactly the kind of idea that I like to discuss on the podcast. And we'd actually had a client years ago who worked with us and came and trained with us, was rehabbing some injuries. I have to say that this particular client was into a lot of really different things. There's a lot of stuff that's kind of out there on the edge, and he was into quite a bit of it. One of the things he did every single day was he went out and made sure every day of his life that he was barefoot outside because of what he'd read about this technique known as earthing. And I have to tell you, I'm born and raised in Mobile, Alabama, as most of you know, and I know what some of you may know as what we refer to as grocery store feet. I spend a lot of time barefoot outside, and I'm still a big fan of that, just as a general practice. And so is my wife. She's from rural North Alabama, from Dogtown. And if you know my wife and the fact that we also live on Dog River, you probably know the connection there with animal rescue. It's kind of interesting. But she grew up in Dogtown, going out barefoot quite often. And hey, our immune systems are really good. Maybe that was part of it. But I thought we'd take a moment to kind of investigate and look at if there's any evidence or health implications for this practice known as earthing. Now, if you don't know, earthing is also known as grounding, and this is it's a health, quote unquote, health practice based on the theory that direct physical contact with the Earth's surface yields significant health benefits. Now, proponents of this practice, earthing, believe that walking barefoot outside, sleeping on earthing sheets, or using other grounding devices can help achieve these health benefits. The practice is rooted in the concept that the Earth's natural electrical field can promote physiological changes and well-being. Now, despite an array of anecdotal evidence, the scientific basis of earthing is still under investigation. With some studies suggesting potential health benefits and others calling for obviously more robust research to conclusively prove its efficacy. So, but there are some noted experts in the field of earthing. The concept of earthing has been propagated by several experts in alternative medicine and holistic health. Chief among them is a man named by the name of Dr. James Oshman. He's a biophysicist known for his work on energy medicine. He has authored several papers supporting the theoretical framework of earthing and its potential benefits. And not only them, but similarly, Clinton Ober is a former cable television executive and is credited with popularizing this concept. He co-authored the book Earthing, quote unquote Earthing, the most important health discovery ever. Along with, he worked on this along with a guy named Steven Sinatra, who's a cardiologist who supports integrative medicine, and Martin Zucker, a former Associated Press writer who specializes in health topics. So there's quite a few people kind of involved in this. Scientific research on earthing, there's multiple studies. They've been conducted to assess, like I said earlier, the efficacy of earthing. Though the results, as you can imagine, are often mixed. And many in the scientific community call for like rigorous controlled experiments. And I keep repeating that because we need that for everything. Several times you've heard me talk about the theory that launched what I call the live food, and that is the lipid hypothesis, which was first thrown out there in 1956, 1957, and is still pushed today, and it's still known as a theory because it's never been proven. And they've tried to repeat the studies and whatever. So I'm a big fan of having plenty of studies to back up what you're pushing out there. So the first one is a randomized double-blind pilot study was published in the Journal of Environmental and Public Health in 2012. Now, it suggested that grounding the human body to the earth during sleep improves sleep and reduces pain and stress. However, the sample size was small, and it was a pilot study, suggesting that further research, of course, is needed with larger groups. And that's typically what we have when we have a small group study. I talked about that when we were talking about doing the ice baths. There's another study that's published in the Journal of Inflammation Research in 2015. That was a new one on me. But it said that earthing was shown to help in wound healing, pain reduction, and inflammation, suggesting that earthing may have potential applications in the medical field. The research suggests that the Earth's negative surface electric charge transferred into the body through grounding can neutralize positively charged free radicals implicated in chronic inflammation. And I can understand the somewhat acceptance of that. So further on, a 2013 study published in the Journal of Alternative and Complementary Medicine showed an increase in the surface charge of red blood cells, thereby reducing blood viscosity and clumping. That we tend to have problems with that with strokes and causing any kind of clogging in the arteries. Of course, you're going to end up with heart problems. So if you have something that actually reduces the blood viscosity and keeps it from being so thick and clumping, well, that of course is a good thing. So the authors of this particular study suggest that earthing might be one of the simplest yet most profound interventions for helping reduce cardiovascular risk and cardiovascular events. If it truly did reduce viscosity, of course, that would absolutely be true. And by just spending some time barefoot outside or sleeping on earthing sheets, I'm not quite sure what that is yet. But despite these promising findings, many other studies suggest inconclusive results or show no significant effect of earthing. And obviously, I'm not surprised to see that. Many of these studies have been criticized for, again, small sample sizes, lack of controls, or potential bias due to the involvement of earthing advocates in the research. And you typically have that when you have any kind of a study like this going on. Angel Keys was a huge proponent and actually wrote some books before he even published his information on the lipid hypothesis. So he was kind of high advocate of that. So now, I'll give you a listing here. The proponents of earthing often list a multitude of potential benefits, including, as I said earlier, the reduced inflammation. Some studies suggesting that earthing can, like we said earlier, neutralize free radicals in the body, which can reduce inflammation. I'm all about reducing inflammation. And because it's linked to many chronic diseases, and reducing it can have some significant health benefits. And talked about that with the ice baths, about how important that was for reducing inflammation. Number two, improve sleep and reduce stress. There is some evidence that earthing can improve sleep quality and reduce stress by influencing cortisol, which is the body's primary stress hormone. Number three, decrease pain. Some individuals have reported reduced pain after practicing earthing, possibly due to the reduction of inflammation. That would be obvious when you take an anti-inflammatory. The side effect of an anti-inflammatory actually is reduced pain because you're reducing the inflammation. And number 4 is, and like I said earlier, the improved cardiovascular health. Having some evidence that it reduces the blood viscosity, then it would definitely have an effect on your cardiovascular health. Since we're not causing a thickness of the blood, we're not causing clumping. Therefore, once clumping hits some scar tissue in the vessel, then it's going to clog the vessel, and you're going to have problems, a stroke or a heart attack, or if nothing else, you're going to have to go in there and do some heart surgery, or at least on the outside of the heart or whatever, on whatever vessel's clogged, and either bypass it or do a stent or something like that. So if you can reduce those, hey, I'm always a fan of that. I'm a fan of that because of drinking water actually reduces viscosity. So, I'm a huge proponent of that. The bottom line on that, or Garrett's opinion, I shall say, because in reading about this, I was I'm pretty fascinated in the research I did on this, and finding out that I did not know that there were quite a few studies done on this. I knew that there were several proponents of it, especially in what they call "quote unquote" alternative medicine. And I always use the "quote unquote" on that because there are a lot of things that are labeled alternative, and I think alternative is an interesting label because exercise could be considered alternative medicine, as in. Well, one way you can try an alternating way, a side note from the norm way to try to build muscle is through exercise. No, it's not alternative. It is a fantastic mainstream way of building muscle, of improving your cardiovascular system. So when they throw that alternative phrase title on something, it's almost like bad mouthing it. And I understand that you can treat inflammation with anti-inflammatory pills, or possibly you can treat it with earthing. You can treat it with ice baths or something. And which one is normal and which one is alternative? Sometimes that's kind of left up to the eye of the beholder. So, but in my opinion, what do I think? Do I think this works? Do I think these claims are true? Well, I'm first and foremost, I'm going to say what it said in the studies that I read, and that is, of course, that and not just the studies, but also share the opinions of some of the articles that were written, and that is that we need larger sampling groups to tell whether or not all these claims are true, but. Like with many things, sort of like I was saying with the ice baths in the podcast just a few podcasts ago, and I've said on other podcasts on different topics. I may have even mentioned this when I was talking about the benefits of drinking water. That's not something that's going to hurt you. If it has been, there's some beliefs about it been shown, even through small studies, that the benefit and the practice of which is not going to put you in any kind of danger, well, why not give it a shot? Especially if this is something that concerns you. Especially if this is something that you've heard about, you've had an interest in, and thought, "Wow, maybe there's some truth to that," or what have you. And you give it a shot. You've got a couple of things going on there. First thing, you either have the benefits of the activity itself, if they are true. Well, obviously, that if you're going to stand barefoot on the earth and spend time like as this former client of ours did, who was bought and sold on it, he would not miss a day without standing outside barefoot. If you believe, you strongly believe, you've read something that's rather convincing, you got a couple of things going on there. You have those benefits, like I said a minute ago, but the second part of that is the fact that mind's a powerful organ. As I said in the first podcast that I ever did, and that is that everybody's after the same thing, seeking to make themselves feel better about being themselves, or seeking their own level of wellness. And the 4 components of ability, when I talk about the live age, what we're really looking for, the 4 is we don't want reduced ability. How can we improve our ability? That's what people come to see me about. And there's 4 components of that. There's fitness, there's nutrition, there's lifestyle, and then there's mindset. And then when I talk about mindset is incredibly, that brain is incredibly the most powerful organ in the body. I mean, it can make you figuratively leap tall buildings, and it can kill you. It literally can kill you. So if you just believe, if you're in this practice and it quote unquote feels good to you and you believe that it is helping you, honestly, just that belief can make a difference. Just that belief actually can reduce stress, can have health benefits. The Harvard study that I talk about in the Live Age, when I talk about mindset, and I wish I did a whole segment on the mindset. I wish I'd even gone longer because that is so important. 60% of your quote unquote aging, whether or not you're going to become disabled, or you're going to actually increase your ability, 60% of that's in mindset. And it literally is. And that study, that Harvard study, proved it. That there was, I may be misquoting this, but because I don't have my information right in front of me at the moment. But they were one of the favorite quotes I heard from that, or points that they researched, were women who changed the color of their hair and just think they look better. Look younger. They may actually, you get lined 100 people up, and 99 of them may say, no, that hair color actually makes you look horrible, makes you look older. But that person that has that hair color changed, it looks in the mirror and they think that they look younger. They've showed that those ladies had lower blood pressure, reduced heart disease. I mean, it was incredible. The officers or the people in the military, or the people who went to work every day in a uniform, they found that they had longer lifespans. It has nothing to do with the uniform. It has to do with the fact that I'm in the same uniform that I was when I was 20. Now that I'm 60, I'm still in a uniform. I still feel younger. I feel, and they literally lived longer. So the mind is an incredibly powerful organ. So this is why I'm a fan of, I don't see, unless you're snake-infested yard, or you're not checking for glass or nails or something that could prick your feet, or you're standing in poison oak or poison ivy and you're highly allergic, I can't see where trying this is, especially if you're interested in those health benefits, the lowering, the reducing the blood viscosity, the reduced inflammation, the better sleep. I don't see why you wouldn't give it a shot. And the last, in my opinion, being a Southern boy from South Alabama, fan of going barefoot. If nothing else, it'll toughen up your feet a bit, and I think that I honestly believe, again, this is Garrett's opinion, that can increase your immune system. Those kids that went out and knew what grocery store feet were, and also happen to know what dirt tastes like. They typically have far better immune systems. So, yes, the studies are inconclusive. The information is not all out there. There are some studies on it, which I think are fantastic. And I hope that they're going to do more research on this, because if they've got this much data, typically they will run with some others. And great quote from Animal House, don't cost nothing. Why not give it a shot? If it not going to hurt you, not going to injure somebody else, possibly got some health benefits, it could be one more thing that helps you reach your level of wellness. Listen, if you have any other questions about this particular podcast, any others, or an idea for a podcast that would, especially ones that would help you dispel the myths of health, fitness, and wellness, please contact us, area code 251-278-3343. That's 251-278-EDGE. You can also reach me at Garrett, Garrett, at personalizedfitness.com, at my email address. Personalizedfitness.com, of course, is our website and our Facebook page. Hit me up on Twitter at Team PE. Thank you so much for checking in today and listening about earthing on today's podcast. I hope to see you next time.